Welcome to another episode where we discuss the Marvel Cinematic Universe and Stella's first time going through all the movies. And with this episode 6, we are now done with Phase 1 with the Avengers. The one they were building up to, the one that was, all the excitement was around, and it made it like $1.5 billion. Like, it was a crazy amount. $1.5 billion. It was a crazy amount of money. Everybody loved it. Everyone cheered it on. Everyone was excited. It's a good time. I didn't see it in theaters, though. I don't know why.
You weren't into it yet, you said.
Yeah, it took me a while. I was only seeing them in theaters up until once the Winter Soldier came out. Then I started seeing them in theaters. For some reason, the other ones I never did. And the Avengers, it's weird because I don't even remember that movie coming out. It came out 2012, so school would have still been in session. I don't remember people even talking. Well, it was because it was still the school year, so I don't remember people talking about it at all. But this was the first time you had watched it, and what'd you think? Well, the first Avengers, not the second. I'm just reminding you.
What'd you say? It's... Everything is not as good since Captain America.
Oh, after watching that one? Oh, okay. So, like, every subsequent movie has just not been as good, so you are just comparing it to that one?
Yes.
Without that measure, what do you think of it on its own?
Remind me what was the first versus the second.
The first one was Loki.
They meshed together to me.
Loki came down to Earth, and he used the Space Stone to enter Earth.
The second one was when they did that car chase, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. The first one was on the helicarrier, and there was like the battles, and the Hulk turned into the Hulk on the helicarrier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why does it seem like one movie to me?
It was directed by the same guy, and they tried a lot of similar story beats in both of them. Mm-hmm. So that's probably why. They kind of have a similar look at times. And it's also the same characters because they didn't introduce too many new superheroes in the second one.
What was Tony up to in that one?
In the first one?
What was he up to? Yeah.
He had just built Stark Tower, and then he was on the helicarrier, and he was the one digging into all the secrets that S.H.I.E.L.D. had because he assumed that they were using the Space Stone for a different purpose rather than for just trying to locate it. So, what did you think of that? Do you know which one we're talking about now?
Yes.
Okay.
I didn't really like it.
Okay.
I don't know. It didn't seem... I know it's like the first one where they're all together, but it seemed like forced.
Yeah, I get that.
Like, it didn't seem like they, like, meshed well. I know, like, that's the first one, but I'm like,
That's probably...
I don't know. I don't know how to explain it.
It's probably part of the difficulty of trying to have so many different types of superheroes join together. Yeah. Especially when getting to the Avengers, you start to really feel like, I wouldn't say it's forced, but you can tell that this part of it was definitely developed by the corporate side rather than the creative writing side of it all. I don't know. You can tell that this one was made a little bit more in the committee. Joss Whedon has a lot of his fingerprints all over it as far as the dialogue goes, character interactions, the way the story is, developed and stacks on one another. But you can tell that this was made like much more on the corporate end, where they're just like, we just need them to join up and fight a bad guy, and that's it. I think that was all their demands really were, so they kind of were giving them free realm, but you could tell that this was a test run. Because I like it a lot for the simplicity, but at the time, I wasn't too into it because it didn't feel as monumental as it should, because it didn't feel so special. I was like, yeah, a bunch of heroes, a team of heroes, fight a bad guy. We've seen that movie before. But I appreciate it more now because I understand the gravity of it more, and also I do enjoy the characters a lot more now. It's got all the good qualities that I need from a story, but I get what you're saying. Kind of feels forced.
When they're, the other Avengers, and when they show up in each other's movies way more now. Like, I didn't like the first one. It felt just weird. It didn't. I don't know. It did not. Was not smooth. I can't talk.
Going through the heroes, did you feel like their personas carried over from their films pretty well? Like, did you think, yep, this is the Tony that we know, this is the Captain America we know, the Hulk, even though it's a different actor, did you feel like their personas carried over pretty well?
Yes.
Okay.
But it's still, like, I could not get over that Thor and Loki are just suddenly... I mean, they did that in their movie, but I'm like, confused me how they're all together.
Suddenly they're just whisked into the Avengers universe, and
Yeah.
it's like normal that,
Yeah.
oh yeah, they got these guys here. Did you say that during that... I think you said that during that review, too, that you thought all that was a little out there with what they were doing with those movies, and I agree. I think that stuff got better with the cosmic stuff, but the Thor aspect of the Avengers did always kind of stick out a little more.
Yeah.
Which, it's not like Captain America is very plausible. I mean, he was from 70 years before.
Yeah, but he's still from the same area.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'm like...
Thor is just much more mythical and not really, not of this world. And a lot of that stuff, Guardians of the Galaxy introduced it more as far as the cosmic universe goes. And I think if we get to Infinity War, when we get to Infinity War,
make it.
I think you'll enjoy it a lot more. Like, that part of it won't bother you. I have my own issues with Infinity War, but I thought that they, like, melded the heroes from the different realms a lot better. Yeah.
How are you so sure that I'm going to be okay with it?
No, I think you'll like it a lot more because I think the movie just is more confident about that stuff. This one, I get what you mean. Like, they're just suddenly there, and
like, we're just gonna throw them all together. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, like, when did Thor meet any of them? Not that Steve did, but he was at least, S.H.I.E.L.D., the beginnings of S.H.I.E.L.D. started... Right, it's like Howard Stark worked with Captain America. Peggy Carter started S.H.I.E.L.D. Like, there's a lot of connections there. Yeah. So it makes sense that he would join them. And Hulk joins them because it's like he's a known famous scientist in that world. And then there's Thor.
Yeah. And Black Widow is, like, works with S.H.I.E.L.D. and she got Hulk. And then there's just Thor and Loki. I'm like... Right.
Yeah, they also do kind of just show up halfway through the movie. Not Loki. Loki's in it from the beginning. He's introduced as the villain. But Thor does just show up suddenly. I forgot about that. Like, I wonder if he's got the least amount of screen time of them all.
Probably.
Did you like Thor better in this movie? I didn't think you... him and Loki, I didn't think you dug too much in the first one. I can't remember exactly. I thought...
I don't know. I didn't not like them. I just don't really like their movies.
No, I mean, that makes sense. I mean,
they're in their movies, so...
Yeah. Well, did you like them in this movie? Like, did you think they... I mean, I know you didn't think they fit in. Well, I don't know what I'm asking, because I guess if you didn't like that they fit in...
Loki more because you said his acting is way better, and I did notice that. But Thor is just still like... Why are you here? I don't know.
I think they do him so much better in the later movies, but we'll get to those.
That's where they try to start Black Widow and Hulk. Their thing, right?
In this one? God, not really. They didn't...
A little bit, because she is the one that gets him, and then she's trying to, like, not make him change. So they start it a little bit.
Yeah, but I don't think that was their intention with this movie. Because, I don't know, if you watch this... having never seen Age of Ultron, which you did for a very short period, you saw this and didn't see Age of Ultron. Did you think at all that they had a connection until we got to Age of Ultron, and then suddenly it was like, oh, they are a thing?
Oh, she's like that with everyone. She was like that with Tony, and she was like that with Captain America.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah.
It's just her, and I'm like...
Well, I think it's always meant to be more of like a... I think she's... I feel like there's much more of camaraderie. Iron Man 2 is a little iffy because I think they just didn't know how to write her at that point.
Yeah.
But Winter Soldier, her camaraderie with Captain America is much more like a friendship. The thing...
I don't get that vibe.
You can make that argument. I'm sure other people have shipped them too, so I'm sure that's not like a new thing. I'm sure people have tried to be like, oh, they should be together. But her and Hulk, when we got to Age of Ultron, it really felt like it came out of nowhere at the time.
Yeah.
And even in retrospect, they've never reintroduced that part of it. They make slight references to it, but they don't really ever reestablish them. And I think a lot of fans didn't like it. And I guess with
it's weird.
With the Avengers, I didn't think it was there too much. I thought it was much more like how her relationship is with Captain America in Winter Soldier, where I didn't think it was as...
Well, why is she like that with every single one of them?
Because she's a girl, and there's the boys, and these movies are written by guys.
Okay.
Maybe that. Did you like Mark Ruffalo as Incredible Hulk? Did you like better than Edward Norton?
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, that's not new. That everyone kind of agrees on that.
I mean, I saw him first as a Hulk. Because we saw Thor.
Thor Ragnarok, like parts of it.
Parts of it.
Well, you didn't see the whole thing.
I saw the whole Hulk part.
You didn't until the end.
Okay, I saw 70% of the Hulk part. I mean, he was the first Hulk I saw, so I was used to him already.
Yeah. He was like the thing that people were praising the most about this one, as far as actors go. Probably because it was the first time he was the Hulk. A lot of people agreed he was like the best version of the Hulk. I do like him a lot too. I really wish he would get his own movie.
His character makes me so sad. Like, he's so depressed and he just hates his life. And it's very sad.
I don't know if he hates it. He's just, he has to deal with it the way he does, and it's just a sad way you have to deal with it, but he does it to save everyone. And then people want him to get involved in these other projects, so he's like, I can't do that.
His character just makes me sad.
Did you like, so Samuel Jackson you said you didn't really like.
Mm-mm.
Did you like him in this one at all? He had a kind of a bigger role in Avengers.
I still don't like him, and we're at number how many?
Well, we're through phase 2 now, and we're heading into phase 3. And the last one that he was in a small part of Age of Ultron, but he was mostly in Winter Soldier. That's probably the one he's in the most, besides Captain Marvel, which is way down the line. But yeah, I guess you didn't like him too much in that either. I don't know what it is. You just don't like him. I can't...
I don't know. He bothers me. He seems like too pushy, and like he knows everything, and like...
He does know everything.
Well, it bothers me. I don't know.
This movie's just very straightforward, and I think that's what was needed for... Because at this point, it was still an experiment. As much as there was confidence that it would do really well, because, I mean, to me, you're putting a bunch of Marvel characters together, which, as a kid who grew up with things like X-Men and Spider-Man and all those other one-offs that didn't do too well, like Daredevil, Hulk, and Ghost Rider, which... I really liked Ghost Rider as a kid. I haven't seen it in years. I saw it once. I'm sure it's awful now. But my dream always was that I understood that they were all Marvel, so have them all join up together. Why not? I didn't understand how studios worked back then. I didn't understand that you can't just have them together, it's funny that they did try. They wanted Wolverine to be in Spider-Man from 2002, even though there's different studios. Hugh Jackman was supposed to be in that movie. I think, if I remember hearing it correctly, they even had him in the makeup ready to go, but then they just didn't do it. And then...
What a waste of his time.
I don't know if that's confirmed. I might have just heard an urban legend, but pretty much that rest of that is true.
I feel like why would you get as far to put on makeup, because makeup takes forever, and then be like, nah.
I don't know if it was like the studio stopped it last second, but they seemed like they were pretty much going for it, and they were a lot more looser about it back then, because superhero movies are so new. There's a special feature on the first X-Men DVD that has it's a blooper where the X-Men are walking through a hallway, one of the scenes in the movie, and Spider-Man, there's a guy in a crappy Spider-Man costume that shows up, and he's like, oh, I'm in the wrong movie, and it's like, that joke was always there, but they wanted to do it, but then as these movies started making more money and all the studios wanted to get the rights, and then Marvel eventually stopped selling the rights because they were like, we're going to make our own movies and keep these characters and do it correctly. The point is that, as a kid, I always just kind of assumed that it could be done. So when it actually started happening, it was like 2008, and it was right before I went into high school. I had read that they were actually going to do it, and my immediate thought was, yeah, about time. Not like everybody else who was like, there were insiders, industry insiders, and people who, you know, were really into movies who thought this is a huge risk because this company's not really a movie company, and they're just gonna plan all these movies like purposely without knowing how the first one's even gonna do.
It's not a risk because you put all like characters people like together, people are going to be interested and be like, that's cool.
Well, that's exactly how I felt. And I think that's why my reaction to the Avengers wasn't as crazy at the time, because when I first heard about the plan, I was like, yeah. Because I always assumed it was going to be done, because we had already gotten Spider-Man, Daredevil, Hulk, and all these movies, and I was always like, well, why can't they meet up? I didn't understand how the rules worked, but...
That's how they work. So.
But a lot of people thought it was a very financially risky move. I still don't really think it's as much of a risk as everyone makes it out to be, or did at the time.
I feel like they played it safe in that one.
Well, story-wise and like character-wise, I thought so. And granted, these aren't like characters that were very well known at the time. They only became well known because of the cinematic universe. I had only heard of Captain America and Iron Man offhand before these movies came out. Same with Thor. Once like Ant-Man had come out and Doctor Strange and especially now that they're getting to like Guardians of the Galaxy and Eternals, I had never heard of any of those characters. So, they, as time went on, they started taking, I would say, bigger risks because people started trusting the brand. So it made sense that they would start out with a movie like this with at least the most recognizable characters that they had, that people could at least know, and they made movies for them, and then they did the Avengers.
I feel like Spider-Man is a big one. Why didn't they start? They waited way late.
They didn't have the rights to him.
Oh yeah, you told me.
Yeah, because they had to like make a special deal with Sony to do that. I love the first Avengers movie. I think it's a fun time, classic action movie.
I thought you didn't like it very much. Well, as much as
no, like I said, at the time I was like a little iffy. Now I appreciate it more, and I like the character interactions a lot. And it's like I said, I like kind of the simpler times. It's just when things were a little simpler and they didn't have so many things. I like both. I like when it's simple, but I also like when there is like way more to it. Because to me, my favorite of these movies, it's up there. Endgame is one of my favorite, and I like it even more than the Avengers, the first one. But that is because it still has all the character interactions, but it has more. Yeah. And this one, that's the part it's missing. This one has the character interactions, it's got the good action, but it doesn't really have the more. And everything that they try to give it more, it's not that it's bad, but you can tell that they were trying to find like the easiest way to have a heartfelt moment, like when Coulson dies. I said play it safe. Like when Phil Coulson dies. He was a character that was introduced in Iron Man, and he was in all the Phase 1 movies. He's got his own TV show now, but he dies in Avengers. And it's supposed to be this big moment, and it is, because it's like, oh, this is a character that we've enjoyed, and he's died now. But also there was a part of it where it was like, yeah, but you picked the one guy that you kind of made up for these movies. So what would you give the Avengers out of 5 stars?
1 out of 10.
1 out of 10?
That's my rating scale.
I thought you meant you're giving it 1 out. Sorry, yeah, out of 10. Sorry. 4? Really?
4.5.
I don't know if it was that bad.
I wouldn't lose sleep if I never watched it again.
Well, I get that, but 4.
Okay, 5. You're peer pressuring me.
4. I think I give it 9 out of 10. I mean, it's good. I mean, there's nothing wrong with it. It's like, it's hard to say it's a near perfect movie.
You're making me feel bad.
No, it's fine. No, because I get what you're saying. Like, it's not... We've watched other ones in the franchise that have more personality to it. And this one, since it's not focused on one character or type of personality, I get that you maybe aren't into it as much. It's really good. It's weird because I'm bringing up criticisms for you, but it is sort of like a roster like of like, here's this character and here's this character and he says something funny, he says something funny, and it's
do
like,
you like it because it's the first one and you appreciate it, or do you like it because you genuinely like
no,
it?
I like it. And if I were watching this one outside the MCU, I would think, wow, that's a really good action movie with really fun characters. But it wouldn't be a movie that I would be like, oh, get Oscars and give it.
But they don't really focus on their characters at all in this one. So how can you say they have good characters?
I wouldn't say personal character development of them each, because their other movies do it better, but I mean like the character interactions. I'm saying like those moments where they're like fighting while they're in that room about the creating nuclear weapons and such out of the stone, and like when they first meet in the forest with Thor and other stuff like that. There's a lot of really memorable moments in this movie that feel like a classic action movie, you know, with really kind of good one-liners and simple personalities, you know, archetypes that we know and have seen before, but they're good. You know, it's like, it's stuff you've seen before, but it's done well. It's like, it's just classic. My tastes have evolved a little, because another thing would be, I didn't like, you know, personalities that were so simplified, because I thought if the personality is simplified to an archetype or a stereotype, I wasn't too into it, because, they didn't make the character complex enough. I've kind of flip-sided on that, especially with action movies, because I'm like, hey, if it's a stereotype or an archetype, it's a character that we know, and it's like the kind of stuff that we love to see. I mean, like I've said that before with like Star Wars. My favorite one is A New Hope, because it is the most straightforward, simple, you know, good guys versus bad guys. And some people criticize that because not enough complexity. I say, I love it because it does it so well. Sorry, I just went on forever, but that's why I'm like, the Avengers is really good. It's a good movie, but it's like, I guess it's a matter of what your tastes are. If you want something a little more complex, or if you're looking for something that develops the characters more, this movie won't be for you, because it's just straightforward. I know, yeah, apparently. And it's like, I mean, I think so. I think you just want something that has a little more to it.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't have a little more to it, then don't be just action, which has a lot of action. I know that's kind of the part that you don't like a lot. Next week, it'll be Iron Man 3, which you didn't like.
Don't spoil it.
Well, we'll get to that. Well, I mean, it's not like a lot of people don't like Iron Man 3. It is a very, well, I was going to say there's a very small crowd who loves it, and that's me, so that'll be a good time. But next, we're going to talk about the classic 2006 film, Just My Luck.
Yep.
See you in the next video.
Thanks for watching the video, and special shout out to Anthony, Anna, Lucas, Ryan, and Robert for the support on Patreon. By joining my Patreon, you can get exclusive videos and blogs, and for only $7, you can request your own movie review. I hope you stick around, cinephile, and have a happy, productive day.